Peace and greetings, all of my family, all of my cousins and relatives here. I hope you all are having a great day so far. I told a few of y'all I was gonna drop a little quick video. Not any kind of demonstrations, martial arts, anything like that, but just to touch bases on the direction that we're moving in, so everybody's on the same page. So I was speaking with Keith Harris this morning, and I was letting him know that the ATASSA martial arts, which I'm gonna explain all of, ATASSA. I'm gonna explain all of that in a minute. But I just want to let everybody know we are out there. People know about us, from the Wichita, Canada, to Snake Blocker and Robert Redfeather, the two Apache fighters. They have their own systems, two different systems, but they're both Apache fighters out in Arizona, and the Seminole School down in Florida. So I put the footprint out there when I started making videos. A friend of mine who's also a fifth degree black belt in Charlotte, Lakota James, he's a Navy SEAL, and y'all probably heard me tell this before. He's a Navy SEAL, fifth degree black belt, and he's a primitive living expert. One of the guys that you just drop out butt naked in the forest and he'll come out, like he's just came from a buffet or something. He makes everything from nature. So I know on the TV show Afraid and Naked, it really wasn't. It was kind of a cheat because they give them a tool or a weapon and something to go out in the forest and survive, which is still impressive, but not as impressive as just telling somebody to go out there with nothing and survive. So this is what Lakota James is able to do. He was a editor for Primitive Living magazine. He's probably about 4 or 5 years older than me, and really knows what he's doing. Very connected. So he and we spent a lot of time talking. He knew what I was wanting to do. So coming from a scientific background, talking about Lakota James, and from the primitive living and dealing with the SEALs, he he put a lot of ideas in my head. Basically, you are your ancestors living in a different time. So you're not going to do exactly what they did, but you can take what they did and you can evolve it. So that's where we took the concepts. Bruce Lee did the same thing. Bruce Lee had multiple disciplines under his belt, and he was out yet still searching for different disciplines. He took what was useful, brought it back to the lab, experimented with things, and turned it into Jeet Kune Do concepts. That's what Donnie Inosanto teaches today, the Jeet Kune Do concepts. It's not Wing Chun. It's not Chinese boxing. It's not Kali or Arnis and the Filipino arts. It's not grappling, but it has those elements from each one that he combined, and he put the Asian twist on it. So it's like the foundation is from where he's from. The foundation is Chinese, but it doesn't look Chinese. It's just it just serves as the foundation that he built this concept on top of, bringing all these other different elements into it. That's why the other Chinese didn't like what he was doing. They thought he was corrupting the art. You're teaching people who you shouldn't be teaching. You're taking the art, you're corrupting it. You're making it American. They didn't like none of the stuff he was doing. Well, what I put in the book that I wrote, I said this wasn't given to me from some mystic, some ancient. I didn't find some ancient scroll in a cave or in some time capsule in the ground. you know. So I don't give this, we didn't get this from some mystical place in the sky or anything like this. This comes from my background, our background, using scientific methods, taking what's good, what's bad from our ancestors and from our collective experiences that we've gained over the years, and put this together into an indigenous fighting system. Now there's core principles, there's core things that the indigenous arts focus on, that makes it an indigenous art. You know, we taught the art of ambush to the military because they came here in a straight line, thought they was going to fight us lining up in formation in a straight line. They found out that that didn't work, because as they were lining up in straight lines, we were hiding in trees, we were hiding under brush, we were in water, we were everywhere. You know, using the terrain as our weapon and our shield, using the terrain. And yes, we had a lot of help from from Earth Mother over here in that regards. But even out west, where there's less greenery and there's a lot of open land, they were still able to use the terrain out there too. So that's a common thing in Turtle Island, from coast to coast, from top to bottom. Skulking, using the terrain, ambush, those are hallmarks of indigenous martial arts. Close quarter combat is something that an individual was something that we preferred. You know, you don't always get what you prefer when you're in a fight, but that's what we preferred. We preferred a one-on-one, and using the art of deception. So here's the thing I want to bring to everyone's attention as we're moving forward. Take what you know. Excuse me. Don't discard what you know. You know, I've heard teachers, you know, I've been in systems where people even told me to leave everything I know out. I get it. If I was to say that, I would say empty your cup, learn something new. Never forget what you know and what you've been taught, what you went through blood, sweat, and tears to gain. Never forget that. But empty enough out of your cup where you can learn new stuff. But some people, when they tell you to leave your stuff at the door, they only want you to know what they're teaching and forget everything else, which is ego. So we're not talking ego here. What I want all of you to do, same thing I've done, same thing I'm still doing. It's a work in progress for all of us. Use your background. Use what you've learned, but use what you've learned and put the indigenous concept to that. So your movements are going to change a little bit. You know, all of the different roles that we do in the various forms of karate, that's not necessarily a bad thing to know how to break fall and stuff like that. But it's not necessarily an indigenous concept, because yeah, we can roll today in 2022 in our society with the terrain and the way everything is built up now. We have space. Yeah, we can go out here and roll around and cartwheel and do anything. But think of during the time when our ancestors was coming up. It was more woods, more swamp area. You couldn't run through here with a war bonnet on. You're not going to be doing dive rolls like you would do in ninjutsu and stuff like that. I've done it before. You know, you're diving 3-5 feet. You're jumping over the tennis thing. You know, all these different types of rolls. That's not necessarily an indigenous concept. So if we're doing rolls, you need to differentiate that. That's not what we would have necessarily done here. Now, somebody is locked up and got you in some type of hole, and you're going to forward or back roll out of it. That's different, you know. And that still depends on where you're standing at. You know, are you going to roll on a bunch of oyster shells? Or are you going to roll on stumps and things like that? Because you might not necessarily be on flat ground. So take what you know and mold it around the indigenous concepts of doing things. One of the things that's very important is motion, because as indigenous people, we don't waste, we're not wasteful. So there's no wasted motion. All motions, all techniques come out of motions. So you can take a motion and you can create multiple techniques just out of a motion. A block could actually be a strike, you know, flinching could actually be a defensive mechanism turned into an offensive mechanism. So, you know, those things. We didn't do aerials. If you look up the Vietnamese martial arts, I can't remember the name of it, but those guys are like darn flying squirrels, the way they're jumping and flipping and doing all the things through the air. It looks good in the movies. It looks good in the movies. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I apologize. I don't know if y'all heard the phone ring, but I had to cut the video off for a second. But anyway, man, where did I leave off? Okay, so there's no wasted motion is one thing. Another thing is being efficient. Fight like an old man is the way my teacher pulled it. Fight like an old man. Basically, people up in age who have been practicing martial arts for a long time, you'll notice that the older they get, they use less energy, but still able to put you on your butt by using less energy. When we're younger, we expend a lot of energy because we have more athleticism. We're younger, so we go all around all these different acrobatic displays to get something done. When the old school dudes, they you know, boom boom boom, look like they ain't hardly do anything, and you wondering why you looking up at the ceiling, you know. So fight like an old man. Basically, no wasted motion. When you don't waste your motions, you're not wasting your energy. So no wasted motion, fight like an old man. That's proficiency. Then the type of strikes we do. Primarily, we're close combat. That's our first thing. We're close combat, but we train at all ranges, because everything is not always close. Sometimes you got mid, sometimes you got long range. And guess what? We like to talk about the concept of insurance. You know, you pay for insurance just in case something happens. And if something happens, I have insurance. Well, if you only train on your 2 feet, it's like you're only paying for liability. But if you train for the ground too, now you have full coverage. You know, most fights go to the ground, and you never know if you're going to end up on the ground. You may not want to specialize on the ground, but you definitely need to know how to defend yourself on the ground to get back up on your feet. That takes us into pressure points. So pressure points is real huge with us. When I was working with people who were competing in jiu-jitsu, I had some blue belts and purple who would come into the studio up in Charlotte, and we would grapple. I don't have a belt in jiu-jitsu, but I've grappled with enough of them to learn how to, if you're going to submit me, damn it, you're going to work for it. I'm going to make it hard for you to submit me. What I learned to exploit their pressure points. That's illegal when you're doing jiu-jitsu in tournaments, but there's a way you can do it where the referees can't even tell that you're using pressure points. You know, so pressure points and joint locks, real big in indigenous martial arts. You see me throwing a lot of knees, a lot of elbows. Guess what? Using your head, using your mouth. We have in Muay Thai, In Muay Thai, they have a concept called the 9 weapons. We have a little bit more than 9. I'll name them out.
Cash up. You spent $8 and...
Everything is trying to disturb me while I'm making this video. Good grief. So, I'll name out our weapons right now. 2 hands. And that's a whole nother thing too. Just learn how to use your hands. Don't always just punch, you know. I broke my knuckle right here, punching. And you'll notice people who wrap their wrist up when they're hitting the bags or putting on gloves, because you can injure yourself just punching, especially if you're not lined up, you know. Lining up with that, with your radius here. If you're not lined up, you can hurt it, you can hurt it, or you can break it. So there's different ways to use your hands. Everything is not like this. This is effective, but there's other effective ways too. Using various palm strikes, you know, but using your fingers. But that's another conversation. So 2 hands, 2 elbows, forearms. That's 6 already, right? 2, 4, 6. That's 6 weapons already. Now we're going to go lower. 2 knees. That's 8. 2 shins. That's 10. Your feet. That's 12. 2 more weapons. Your head. That's 13. The one that nobody likes to use, like to teach. And it's the nastiest weapon to use. Your mouth. Humans are afraid of anything that can potentially bite them. You are a giant compared to a spider, compared to an ant, or compared to some insect that you know bites, right? That's the most frightening thing for humans, is something that's going to bite me. You're afraid of dogs? Rightfully so. They have teeth, right? And they'll bite you. So when it comes to humans, that's something we're not afraid of. But we're afraid of cannibals. People are afraid of cannibals. Oh, you're going to bite me and eat me. We watch zombie movies because those are dead humans biting and eating. My dad told me nobody messed with him in school because he was known as the one that will bite you. Think about it. If people know that that guy uses this as a weapon, he will take a chunk out of you and spit it in your face. Well, you know, that make a person think a little bit differently about putting their hands on you. You know, especially if you bite and you act like you enjoy it. Yeah, that's a weapon. Biting is a weapon. It's a weapon that people act like they don't have. It's a weapon. If you're in a certain predicament and somebody has you in some type of hole and you're fighting for your life, but you can't move your arms or anything, and you can get your mouth on them, what kind of damage you think you can do with that, with your mouth? Whatever they're doing, they're going to change. They're going to have a change of heart, of mind, and idea. If you sink your teeth into them like you biting a piece of chicken, they're going to stop whatever they're doing. You're going to change their whole direction, their whole mind. Everything's going to change. They're going to let you go. You know, at least they're going to create the space for you to do something else to protect yourself. So never take that off the table. You know, using your mouth, knowing how to use your head if somebody have you in a bear hug, or even if you're forward with them, what part of your head that you're using, so you don't hit somebody and then you blind yourself with pain because you didn't use your head right. So yeah, your hands, your elbows, you know, your shins, your knees, your feet, your head, your mouth, all of that is your body weapons. Then we start getting into the indigenous weapons, which is an extension of our body. That's the various blades, and you know, you'll find commonly east of the Mississippi we use machetes. You'll find that. You'll find when during indigenous slavery and all the other slaveries introduced over here, people fought back. They used what they had. They used farm weapons. Same thing they did in Japan. Farmers became warriors. They used what they had to defend themselves, to defend their communities and villages. Same thing here. Hoes, machetes, axes. The traditional weapons would be, certain blades, the longbow. We have the tomahawk. We have traditional weapons, and then we have weapons that was introduced. So, I want to make this thing short. I think we're at 21 minutes, so I'm getting ready to end this. So, take what you know. Think about the direction that we're moving in. There's a guy who made a mistake back in the, I think in the 80s or the 90s. His name is Roman something. He was one of the first guys who came out with talking about Native American martial arts, and the Native American community and the martial arts community as a whole ripped a new asshole in him. They just ripped a new one in him because he came out of a system, a Kempo system, right? He was practicing Kempo, but putting on Native regalia and then calling the Kempo Native martial arts when it was just Kempo. It was Kempo. You got Japanese, Chinese, and then American Kempo. And I think he was practicing American Kempo from Ed Parker. I think that's what he was doing. But then he had on leather with hide with fringes and all that kind of stuff, and he called it Native American martial arts. He appeared on a magazine. He was big until he wasn't. People found out about him. If you're fake, you're only going to last for so long, because people out in the martial arts community, they are not forgiving. They will try you. They will test you. People used to come to our school in Charlotte and test us just to fight. We actually took up them on an offer, and we went to their school to fight them. So that stuff really does exist. It's not just on Karate Kid. Because there's a lot of egos in the martial arts community, and people want to try you. They want to prove that they're better, their system is better, and all that stuff. I wouldn't even get caught up in that. I think a lot of us have grown past that and more mature than that. But it doesn't mean people are not going to try you. It doesn't mean they're not going to test you. So, just be prepared. First of all, we're a whole bunch of brown skinned people. Whether we're from dark to light, we're talking about Native martial arts, indigenous martial arts. Just be prepared that some people are not going to be accepting at first, but we're coming with information that's documented. We're coming with sources, and we're coming with people who have actually real life experience in the art. So it doesn't matter what they say. It matters what we do. So we can prove what we know, we can prove what we say, and we can demonstrate what we're talking about. So we're going to always be real at what we do. So with the ATASSA martial arts, with the W.A.R Club, the difference between this and what you commonly see in the Filipino arts, usually you see two stick two stick applications in the Filipino martial arts. With indigenous martial arts, indigenous American martial arts, usually you don't have the same weapon in both hands. So I may have a knife, stick. I may have a W.A.R club and a tomahawk. Or I may have something on me concealed, and all you see is this. So when we're fighting and we're close and we're engaged, wow, we're fighting, wow, and stab, because I had a concealed knife on me. Usually don't have the same weapons. These Carolina Palm, the movement, I tested, compared. In my opinion, This is a lot faster when you're trying to get in. It's a lot faster. You can still do impact, slice, stab, and see, and it depends on how you fix this up. If you put shark teeth in it, if you want to put some type of shells in it, maybe fix a deer antler to it somehow, flint knap, so you can put you some razor edge on it. Or you can just carve out the stick itself and put teeth in it. And then you're ready. You're ready to rip, stab, rip, rip. Okay, come here, come here. So here's something I want to show that we emphasize. We punch, right? We punch. But what we want people to know is we don't always keep them tight. Tight fists, it slows you, it slows your energy, it slows your reaction time, it slows your delivery. Basically, if I'm punching with a clenched tight fist from here to there, it's going to be a fraction of a second slower than if my hand is loose. And like that right there. See, when I get out here, now I can decide if I'm going to clench at the last minute or I might spear the eyes. Eye spear. They call that eye jab, eye gouge, buji in Filipino, or we call it spear. Pretty much spear to the eye. If a baby poked you in the eye, it's going to hurt. So if I poke you in the eye with intention, trying to hurt you, it's going to hurt. Right? So we're here, right? Not that stuff. That's TV. That's TV. That's TV, right? So we're here, we're relaxed. The more relaxed you are, you can absorb shocks. If somebody's hitting you, you can absorb it, but you don't want to absorb it. You want to take it in and send it back. So energy is big. Energy is big when it comes to martial arts. The UFC is not big on internal energy. They're big on cardio, anaerobic and aerobic. But we're talking about a different energy. We're involving chakras and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about sending your chi, orinda, out. But anyway, I had a teacher who hit me and sent the pain down where it traveled. It works. Some of that stuff is phony. Some of that stuff is real too. So, right here, clench fist. See? Clench. And I poked him in the eye by mistake. See that? And that was an accident. Now, imagine if I really meant to do that. You all right, son? Now, imagine if I really meant to do that. Push his eyeball back there by his pineal gland and merge those two eyes together. Now you really have a third eye. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. I won't do that no more. All right. Traditional block. in martial arts, right? That's good for learning basics, foundation, body mechanics, and developing strength, right? But when you're engaging, you're not going to be like this right here. So when you're engaging, all of this stuff, this is classroom. This is not street. When you're engaging, you need to be relaxed. You're going to move faster that way. Now, we said we don't keep our fists clenched all the time. We keep it like this right here. Because, you heard me?
Yeah.
Because this jab might turn into that. The spear might turn into a grab. If I'm right here, pow, reach, elbow, knee, whatever you want to do. But just want to throw that out. If you straight hand, you can do just as much damage as you can do with your fist. And I think this is the safest, especially, I've broken my knuckle before punching. We wrap our wrist when we're practicing so we don't injure our wrist. But you can still injure your wrist. Guess how you can't injure your wrist or your hand? If you use palm strikes. Palm strikes. Palm strikes. Up, up, ridge. Hit, that. Hit, hit. But you can also punch. I'm not saying don't punch. Just know when to and when not to. And I think I'm going to leave it at that for right now.